Have you ever felt an overwhelming sense of peace, like something far beyond yourself was present, watching, guiding, maybe even speaking to you without words? What if I told you this wasn't just your imagination, but your brain actually reaching into something transcendent? In this video, we're diving into the brain-God connection, a stunning intersection where neuroscience meets the sacred. We're not just talking belief, we're exploring the very real neural pathways that may unlock a doorway to the divine. Because here's the truth. Your brain isn't just a storage unit for memories and logic. It's also a mystical antenna, wired for connection, capable of tuning into frequencies far beyond the material world. Today, science is beginning to catch up with what mystics, prophets, and spiritual seekers have claimed for millennia, that a part of us is designed to reach the infinite. We'll explore how certain brain regions light up during prayer and meditation, why specific frequencies help us feel more connected to the universe, and what this all means for your personal connection with the divine. You don't need to abandon reason to experience spiritual depth. In fact, understanding how your brain works might be the very key to unlocking deeper awareness, peace, and purpose. So if you've ever wondered whether God is real, or if that deep inner whisper is more than just neural noise, this journey is for you, because you are more than flesh and bone. You are a mind, a mystery, and maybe, just maybe, a sacred bridge between Earth and the eternal. So how exactly is the brain involved in our experience of the divine? Let's take a journey into what some scientists call the spiritual hardware of the brain, a network of regions that seem specially designed to perceive and process spiritual experiences. The first stop, the parietal lobe, located near the top of your head. Studies show that during deep meditation or prayer, this region actually goes quiet. Why does this matter? Because the parietal lobe helps you distinguish where you end and the outside world begins. When it powers down, people often report a feeling of oneness, a loss of ego, and an overwhelming sense of connection with something greater. Then there's the temporal lobe, particularly the right side. This area has been associated with mystical experiences, visions, and even what some call downloads of divine insight. Temporal lobe stimulation has, in rare cases, produced sensations of a spiritual presence or even direct communication with God. Now consider the prefrontal cortex, the command center of decision-making and moral reasoning. This region becomes highly active during prayer and spiritual reflection. It's the part of you that contemplates meaning, ethics, and higher purpose. In many ways, it's your inner philosopher, constantly striving to align your life with truth, love, and something transcendent. Another key player is the anterior cingulate cortex, which lights up during moments of compassion and deep emotional connection. This region is often active during acts of worship and gratitude, two of the most common spiritual practices worldwide. These aren't just random firings of neurons. They appear to form a spiritual circuitry, a pattern that repeats across cultures, religions, and belief systems. Whether someone is chanting in a monastery, dancing in an African ritual, or silently contemplating the divine in a forest, these same regions are engaged. It's as if your brain was built not just to survive, but to seek meaning, purpose, and the sacred. You're not just having spiritual experiences, you're designed for them. Now that we've explored the physical regions of the brain tied to spirituality, let's zoom in deeper, into the language your brain uses to communicate not just with itself, but potentially with the divine. That language is frequency. Your brain is constantly pulsing with electrical activity, brainwaves, moving at different speeds depending on your state of consciousness. And these waves may hold the key to spiritual connection. Let's start with beta waves, your brain's default when you're alert, solving problems, or stressing over daily life. It's fast, logical, and often noisy. But spiritual experiences usually don't occur in this state. Why? Because the mind is too cluttered. As you begin to relax, through breathwork, meditation, or prayer, your brain shifts into alpha waves. This is the calm, creative zone. In alpha, the doorway to the subconscious begins to crack open. You feel peaceful, grounded, and receptive. Go deeper still, and you'll reach theta waves. This is where things get mystical. Theta is the frequency of intuition, deep meditation, and connection to the unseen. People in theta often report feeling guided, receiving insight, or sensing a divine presence. Some even go further into delta, the brainwave of deep sleep and spiritual transcendence. Delta is associated with non-dual awareness, timelessness, and complete surrender, where the self disappears, and all that remains is God, Source, or infinite consciousness. And here's the incredible part. You can train your brain to access these states. Practices like chanting, focused prayer, rhythmic breathing, and certain forms of sound therapy, such as binaural beats, help synchronize your brain into these deeper frequencies. Once there, the veil begins to lift. The ego dissolves. You may begin to feel what mystics have long described as the presence of the divine, not as a concept, but as a living, breathing reality. Science calls it entrainment. The soul calls it communion. Your brain isn't blocking your connection to God. It's waiting to be tuned like an instrument into the frequency of the sacred. So here's the big question. If spiritual experiences light up specific parts of the brain and occur in certain brainwave states, does that mean they're just hallucinations? Just chemicals, neurons, and illusions? It's a fair question, and it's one that both skeptics and spiritual seekers wrestle with. Think about it. Every experience you've ever had, falling in love, tasting chocolate, hearing music, registered in your brain. Does that make those experiences less real? Of course not. The brain doesn't create reality, it interprets it. So when someone says, "I felt the presence of God," and we see the frontal lobe light up, or their brain drop into theta, does that disprove God? Or does it prove that the human mind has been designed to interface with something far greater? In fact, some scientists now argue that the brain might be more like a receiver than a generator. Just like a radio doesn't invent music, it picks up invisible waves and converts them into sound. Your brain may be tuning into spiritual frequencies already present in the universe. And when the tuning is right, through silence, stillness, prayer, or awe, you receive something. You don't invent God, you meet God. Let's not forget, many of history's greatest minds, Einstein, Tesla, Jung, believed in some kind of intelligence beyond the material world. They understood that consciousness might extend beyond neurons, and that spiritual experience could be a gateway to a larger truth, not a glitch in the system. So are mystical experiences just in your head? Maybe they start there, but they might not end there. They might be your first glimpse of something infinite, filtered through the sacred lens of the human brain. If the brain is wired for the divine, then intention is the switch that turns the circuit on. In the spiritual world, intention is often overlooked. It sounds simple, maybe even too basic. But science and spirituality agree. Your focused intention changes how your brain behaves. When you set a clear intention, I want to connect with God. I want to feel peace. I want divine guidance. You activate the reticular activating system, or RAS. This part of the brain filters out the noise and tunes into what matters to you. Intention literally sharpens your awareness and primes your brain to notice the sacred. This means that when you consciously seek the divine, your brain starts scanning your internal and external world for signals of that presence. What once felt like coincidence now feels like guidance. What felt random now feels meaningful. But it goes deeper. Your intention also shifts energy. The moment you enter prayer or meditation with sincerity, without distraction, your brain starts releasing chemicals like oxytocin and dopamine. creating feelings of warmth, safety, and connection. You become emotionally open, neurologically primed, and spiritually attuned. Some call it neuroplasticity, your brain reshaping itself based on your focus. Others call it faith, the act of trusting in something unseen but deeply known. But whether scientific or sacred, the message is the same. Your mind is a bridge. An intention is what directs the flow of traffic between ego and soul, thought and stillness, self and source. When you sit in silence and ask, "God, are you there?" that question does something. It shifts your brain waves. It alters your chemistry. And if repeated consistently, it carves a neural pathway, like a trail in the woods you return to again and again, until it becomes clear, effortless, sacred. That is the power of conscious focus. Not just to think, but to invite. Not just to wonder, but to open. Your intention isn't a whisper into nothingness. It's the key that unlocks a very real, very sacred connection, waiting quietly in the corridors of your mind. You don't have to be a monk, a mystic, or a neuroscientist to awaken your spiritual brain. You already have the wiring. Now, it's about activating it. Here are some powerful, evidence-based ways to awaken the divine within and begin rewiring your brain to sense, perceive, and embody the sacred more fully. 1. Meditation with intention. Not all meditation is equal. When you meditate with a spiritual intention, such as "I open myself to divine love," or "reveal to me the truth of who I am," you activate deeper regions of the prefrontal cortex and calm the default mode network, reducing self-focus and ego chatter. Just 10-20 minutes a day can rewire your pathways toward connection and clarity. 2. Breathwork and chanting. Slow, rhythmic breathing shifts your brainwaves from beta to alpha or theta, ideal states for divine connection. Add chanting a mantra like Om, Amen, or even your own sacred word, and you stimulate the vagus nerve, unlocking deep calm and mystical awareness. 3. Gratitude practices. Studies show that gratitude literally reshapes your brain, strengthening neural pathways associated with compassion, joy, and spiritual awareness. Keep a gratitude journal. Begin your day with "thank you." It sounds simple, but it's spiritually magnetic. 4. Sacred silence. In a noisy world, silence is a portal. Just 5 minutes of intentional stillness, no scrolling, no striving, no seeking, can amplify your sensitivity to the divine. Silence gives space for the whisper of God to rise above the static of life. 5. Nature immersion. The awe we feel in nature isn't just poetic, it's neurological. Being in nature reduces activity in stress-related brain regions and increases feelings of unity and wonder. Take your prayer, reflection, or breathwork outside. Let the earth be your temple. 6. Visual imagery and art. Close your eyes and visualize a scene that represents divine love. A radiant light, a sacred space, a figure of wisdom. Doing this regularly strengthens the brain's visualization centers and links them to emotional and spiritual resonance. 7. Service and compassion. When you act with selfless love, you activate the anterior cingulate cortex and release oxytocin, neurochemicals tied to divine experiences of connection and unity. Serving others doesn't just help the world, it heals and awakens your soul. These practices aren't just rituals. They're technologies of the sacred, ways of tuning your brain like an instrument to align with the infinite. You don't need to chase God somewhere out there. You are the cathedral, the temple, the doorway. The divine is not separate. It's waiting, quietly, in the depths of your beautifully wired mind. So now we return to the original question. Is there a link between your brain and God? What if it's not just a link, but a bridge, designed into you from the very beginning? From the temporal lobes that light up during prayer, to the quiet power of theta waves that open the door to the mystical, to the incredible transformation that intention and gratitude can create in your neural architecture. It's all pointing to one truth. You were built to connect. You don't have to escape your body to find the divine. You don't have to wait for a perfect moment. The sacred isn't somewhere far away. It's within reach, right now, in the stillness of your mind, in the rhythms of your breath, in the love you give, in the awareness you carry. Your brain is not an obstacle to God. It's an invitation, an exquisitely designed interface for experiencing truth, awe, unity, and divine love, not just as a belief, but as a felt reality. And every time you pause, breathe, and open, even for a moment, you strengthen that sacred connection. You deepen the pathway. You remember who you really are. Not just a body, not just a brain, but a soul encoded with the capacity to encounter the infinite. So the next time you meditate, or pray, or feel that deep, unexplainable sense of peace, know that it's not an accident. It's not a fluke. It's your mind, answering the call of something eternal, because the brain-God connection isn't just possible. It's already happening. If this resonated with you, take a moment to subscribe. And if you're ready to go deeper into the science and mystery of awakening, drop a comment below. I'm ready to awaken my mind. Together, we're building a bridge between science, spirit, and the sacred within. See you in the next video.